One of our creepy storytime family members shared this story with me, and she said that anytime she has ever tried to tell anybody, nobody has believed her and they've made her feel so alone. Creepy story time. Now, this is a long one, so this is part 1. She said she'd like to remain anonymous, but she'll probably be checking the comments if you want to leave your input there. This story takes place a few years back when she was 16, just about to turn 17. She is 20 now. For the sake of the story, let's call her Natalie. Natalie had just started an ILS position, which if you don't know what that means, it's just somebody that works with people who have cognitive or physical disabilities. Natalie said that typically somebody at her age at the time would not have gotten a position like this, especially with the company it was for, but her mom worked at the office there and so did her mother's boyfriend. So she had a good word in, and she said she didn't even need to interview for the position. She said, so fast forward about a month and everything is going great. She absolutely loves her job. She adores all her clients. And one morning, one of her clients had to cancel the shift because of illness or something. So in order to keep her hours, she reported it and she was given another client for that day, someone she had never worked for before. Natalie read the specific documentation. For the story's sake, we'll call this girl Sarah. And she came to find out that Sarah has autism. So she arrives at Sarah's house, knocks on the door, and goes inside. She says that Sarah was very sweet, but she did note that something felt very off. She had matted hair, her clothes were stained and tattered, and she said there was a very strong smell of dead animal. So she said she nicely and briefly suggested that maybe they could work together to clean her up a little bit. And then she even went on to explain the importance of cleanliness so as to avoid sickness or infection. So Sarah just looks at Natalie dead in the face and says, "He won't let me." So Natalie's a little confused because nowhere on Sarah's documentation does it say that she lives with anybody. She is very independent and lives alone despite having autism. So Natalie asks Sarah, "What do you mean by that?" And Sarah just shrugs her shoulders. Natalie asks Sarah one more time, and Sarah just turns away from her and goes over and sits at the dining room table where there are some art supplies sitting there. So Sarah begins to draw, and Natalie stands up and walks across to go over to her in the dining room, and she said that when she passed the living room, she noticed a very tall, had to be about 6 foot, old-looking full-length mirror. She said she remembers these details about it, like streaks running down it and cracks around the upper edge, probably because she said it made her feel very unsettled. So Natalie says she sits down at this table and her back is directly facing the mirror. And when she turns around, she can see into the mirror. She sees her own reflection and she can also see a little bit into the living room. So they're sitting there in silence for a little, and then Natalie tries to strike up some kind of conversation, asking her basic questions like, what are you into? What are your hobbies? Sarah does not give her very much to go on. She answers her with a few one-word answers, and then the rest of the time she's just shrugging her shoulders again. Natalie totally understands that with autism, it's hard to socialize, especially with new people, so she just decides to let it be. So about 30 minutes have gone by, and Natalie is trying to come up with things to talk about, so she's complimenting her drawings. But again, Sarah didn't really say much. Then, all of a sudden, the temperature in the room dropped. She said it felt like all the windows were open on a cold winter day, and none of the windows were open. She asked Sarah, "Hey, do you want me to turn on the heat since it's so cold in here?" And Sarah replied, "I need it cold." Natalie was like, all right, and she left it at that. Then Natalie notices Sarah aggressively flips the page in her drawing book and starts scribbling down an image, and it starts to look like she's drawing a cross. Natalie almost wanted to ask her if she was religious, but she knew that would be inappropriate to ask, and she didn't want her to feel uncomfortable, so she just asked, "What are you drawing?" Sarah just smiled wide without looking up and just replied, "It's a cross." But Natalie noticed that Sarah drew it upside down. So Natalie said, "I think you might have it drawn the wrong way. See, like this." And she holds up her necklace that she was wearing of a cross. Sarah looks up and her face drops. And she just says, "You shouldn't have that in here." Natalie asks why not. And then she replies, "He doesn't like it." And then she went back to drawing. So at this point, Natalie's getting pretty freaked out. And then she says the coldness in the room drops even more. It's just getting worse and worse. And she's starting to think, I brought a jacket with me. Did I bring it from the car? Did I put it in the living room? So she turns around to look into the mirror to see if she can kind of see it sitting in the living room. When she turns around and looks in the mirror, she sees her own reflection, and she says she can see Sarah's hand sticking out from behind her, still scribbling away on the paper. And then Natalie says all of a sudden she just got this overwhelming sense of dread, just this horrible feeling like something bad is going to happen. And she's still looking in the mirror, watching Sarah's hand scribble, and then all of a sudden she stops and just sits there still. Natalie is frozen in fear. She just has this intense feeling like somebody's watching her. She says in that moment, she also felt breath hit her on the back of the head, and it even fluttered her hair. She spun around so fast, and she was face to face with Sarah, so close Sarah's nose was almost touching hers. She swore that she was able to see everything in the mirror, and she would have seen if Sarah was getting up out of her seat to move close to her. Her hand was still on the table. She said she would not have had enough time to get that close to her without her seeing her move in the mirror. Natalie recoiled back, and Sarah kept leaning forward. Natalie kind of put her hand on her chest and then tried to jokingly say, "Oh, you scared me." Sarah now leaned back a little bit and then just looked at her and gave her the biggest grin. And she said it looked super unusual, almost like it hurt. And then she looked up and past her, and immediately her face dropped, and she said, "He doesn't like you." Okay, this is getting kind of long, so I'm going to make a part 2 and finish up the story. Keep an eye out.
This is someone's experience being possessed, and this one is yet another submission from South Africa. I am back with another spooky story, and you actually don't want to watch this one at night. Hello, my Haitian sister. I have a spooky story for you all the way from South Africa. This will be creepy, and I advise you to watch it at night. It hits different. So the person who submitted this story wants you to watch this late at night. Okay. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Bay. So this happened in 2022 when Bay was in 12th grade during finals week. So Bay and a few friends asked one of their teachers if they could have a study camp because they were accounting and business students. The teacher, for some reason, offered them her old house. There were a mix of boys and girls. Now, everybody wasn't that close, but they all knew each other. So for the first few days of living together, everyone was cooperative and tolerant. They created a system: who cleans, wash dishes, who cooks. The boys did the more heavy-duty tasks, like fetching water for cooking and drinking, because water in the house wasn't drinkable. They also took turns showering, as there was only one bathroom. And there were 2 bedrooms facing each other. Boys took one room and the other girls took the other side. Nothing creepy happened at first, but one of the girls started to casually piss everybody off. Let's call her Zizi. Nobody liked Zizi from the beginning because she was dramatic, rude, and always tried to push people around. They tolerated her until they couldn't anymore. They called the teacher and they voted her out of the study group. She was sent home 3 days into the camp. Like, how insufferable could you be? So after Zizi left, there was finally some peace. They all focused on studying. Now, on the 5th night, just 2 days after Zizi left, the group started praying, and one of the girls began acting weird. Her eyes would twitch and roll all the way back. She kept saying she felt hot whenever they prayed or worshiped. Her best friend claimed she gets like this because it's an ancestral gift. Yeah, right. They brushed it off and basically ended the prayer quickly because everybody was uncomfortable. But that wasn't the only strange thing. One night, while they were praying, the more they prayed, the worse she reacted. This time she started convulsing, screaming in a language that nobody understood, just staring at them. And that's when everybody realized she was possessed. They prayed for over 2 hours in the boys' room. And the creepiest part, they saw shadows moving outside, and it only rained inside of the compound of their house. Nowhere else. When they stopped praying, the rain also stopped. In the morning, everything around the house was soaked, but the neighbors' houses in the street were completely dry. It made no sense. So let's call the girl who's possessed Tessa. So life went back to normal. During the day, everybody's doing what they have to do. During that day, they prayed again, and things got worse. They held hands, and the stronger they prayed, the more the demon lashed out. It started jumping from Tessa to the rest of them, but it was only among the girls. Now, when it entered Bay, the person who submitted the story, she felt this burning sensation, like she was on fire. Suddenly, she could see not with her eyes, but with her spirit. No matter how much she blinked, she couldn't snap out of it. She says all she could see was Tessa in a cage in a place that looked like hell. Everything was burning and souls were being tortured. Every time she ran to her to open the cage to save her, she turned into a demon, she being Tessa. Whenever she tried to run towards the light or portal to escape, Tessa would transform again. At this point, Tessa is fighting to open her eyes. She could hear everybody praying louder and louder. But she finally snapped out of it. She was crying. Everyone was scared of her. And when she explained what she saw, everybody was just looking at each other and looking back at her, horrified. Another girl got possessed next. Let's call her Ginger. What she described scared everybody so badly that they had to kick her out the room as everybody continued praying, as it rained with thunder and lightning. So from the kitchen, Ginger calls out to everybody, claiming she saw a dark shadow and blue light enter the girl's bedroom. So when Tessa's friend finally walks in, something told her, check one of the girl's food parcels. And inside this unopened cereal box, she found brown coins. Everybody freaked out and called a nearby pastor. Luckily, the boys knew a man of God who lived close by. He came and prayed for all of them and talked to Tessa while she was possessed. And the pastor said that this demon was put on Tessa by a family member to destroy her. And he warned them, do not pray with that girl, only for yourselves, because whatever was inside of her could destroy everybody. So Tessa leaves and everybody just tries to forget that night. Since none of them had exams the next day, they decided to unwind the evening. It was getting dark and everybody was doing a little smoke session, and most everybody that was there joined. They had Russian beers and 3 big rolls. And once everybody was smacked, strange things started happening again. They couldn't say it was hallucinations. Tessa was standing in the corner saying weird things and looking at them in a way that didn't feel human. For some reason, this is all that this person submitted. There's no part 2. This is all they submitted. Thank you guys so much for watching this spooky story. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to submit it to me right here on TikTok or on Instagram. If you want better, longer, and spookier stories, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I want to say thank you all my abducted humans for all the birthday wishes. You guys made me feel so special this weekend. From your favorite Haitian homegirl.
Y'all ready for another creepy ass story time? This is the night where the devil decided to pay our little club a visit. And sadly, this is the last night I ever saw my friend. This takes place in Los Angeles, California. I'm 19 years old. I've been dancing for about a year at this point. And I've got one really good girlfriend. This is before I met Carmen. Her name is Aranza. And that is her real stage name. So I have to give you a quick rundown first about Aranza. Aranza is from Brazil. She is a widower, lost her husband in a tragic car accident. She's got 2 kids that are in Brazil, and she's got 2 sets of grandparents to take care of. She's got to take care of her parents and her husband's parents, right? So all financial responsibility falls on Aranza. That is why she was here in the U.S. dancing. Now, Aranza is very religious. I know. Don't fucking say nothing. Just because we're dancers doesn't mean we don't love Jesus. I met her 2 months into dancing, so like 10 months total, right? She went to church every Sunday. Didn't swear, didn't drink. She didn't have a mean bone in her body. Very nice girl. And she always expressed guilt for being a dancer. You know what I mean? Like, she was really, really ashamed of it, but she felt trapped. Like, she couldn't do anything else. And she had a whole family to take care of in Brazil that were depending on her. And a 9 to 5 just wasn't going to cut it. She still had to take care of herself and pay her own bills too. So one night, me and Aranza are at the club, and this particular night, it is popping the fuck off, and I don't mean in a good way. This particular club was very small and like very chill. I never saw like girls fighting or customers fighting, nothing like that. It was super, super, super chill. So drama there was like rare. There were a total of 3 fights, 1 between girls in the back and 2 between like customers, and these were all separate like little fights. I'm chalking this shit up to like a full moon, like, you know, the lunar cycle or some shit. All of these fights happened within like a span of 1 hour. Then in comes this man, and this is the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my entire life, still to this day. And I remember his face very well. He was very devilishly handsome, and I use that word on purpose because that's kind of what you would imagine the devil looking like. He had very sharp features, a very sharp jawline, a sharp nose. You know what I mean? Beautiful jaw lines, like just he was fine. He was fine. He walks in, grabs his drink, sits down. All the girls come up to him one by one, trying to small talk with him, trying to ask him for a dance, and they just get up and walk away. He's not interested. And I can hear the girls sitting next to me that had already walked up and talked to him. I can overhear them saying like, that guy was creepy. He's just a creeper. I can't ask them anything though, because I'm sitting down with my regular. I'm having a conversation and I don't want to be rude. Everyone has approached him except Aranza. Aranza's standing at the bar. But I noticed, because he's fine as hell. I'm staring at him because after I'm done with this regular, I'm walking my ass over there. I noticed though, I clocked that he is staring at Aranza. So after I'm done talking with my regular, I walk up to Aranza and I'm like, girl, that fine ass motherfucker is staring at you. Go over there and make your money. And she's like, I don't know, man. All the girls are saying he's kind of creepy. And I'm like, bitch, do you know where the fuck you are at right now? This is a nudie bar. All the guys are here are fucking creepy. Quit being a baby. I wish I never did that. Another one of my regulars come in, so we get to talking. While we're talking, I noticed that that man got up and is walking toward Aranza. They're standing at the bar and they're talking. They went back and forth for about 5 minutes, I'd say. I see them head toward the VIP section. The VIP section is separate from like just the regular dances, right? The VIP section, you're going to be in there for at least 20 minutes. 5 minutes later, I don't even think it was 5 minutes, that man comes strolling out of the VIP. When he strolls out of the VIP, this man gives me a smile that I will never, a smile I will never forget. Look, I got the chills. I got the chills. I will never forget the smile. His smile looked like a shark. That's the only way I can describe it. You know that shark Bruce from Finding Nemo? That's what that fucking man looked like. That was that smile he gave me. Instantly, my stomach is in my ass. I feel like throwing up. I race back there because I know something is wrong. I'm thinking something happened. They should have been back there for at least 20 minutes. I'm thinking he SA'd her or like physically assault. I don't fucking know. I'm thinking he hurt her. I kicked my heels off and everything and booked it back there because I wanted to get back there as fast as possible so he wouldn't get away just in case he did something crazy to her. So I get back there and she's sitting in the booth, right? I'm looking at her and she's like catatonic. Bitch, you know what the fuck I mean. She's stuck. She's just stuck. She's got like the fucking 1,000-yard stare. She's like looking past me. She won't talk to me. She won't fucking say anything. I'm scared. I'm like tapping her cheek and shit. I'm doing that for like 5 fucking minutes. I'm examining her body. I don't see any signs of an assault. Like I don't see any injuries. I don't see her like bikini ripped or nothing like that. So I'm like, what the fuck happened? She fucking snaps out of the shit, right? And she just pushes me. She pushes the fuck out of me and I fall over. I'm like, well, bitch, what the fuck? She jumps up and takes off running to the fucking dressing room. By the time I get my ass up and take my ass to the dressing room to see what the fuck is going on, this bitch damn near tackles me, like on her fucking way out. But I stop her. I block the fucking door. Her panic is making me panic. And I want to know why the fuck we are panicking. And should I be fucking leaving too? Did he threaten to shoot this bitch up? Tell me what the fuck. This lady looks me dead in my eyes and tells me, and I quote, I saw hellfire in his eyes and we need to repent. You saw what? She pushes past me and leaves in the middle of her shift. Now I'm stuck like a fucking deer headlights. What the fuck do you do with that? I finished my shift. For the next 3 days, I'm calling her. I'm going straight to voicemail. I'm texting her. No response. On the 4th day, I go to her apartment. I've been there a million times. We were friends. I get to the apartment. I'm knocking at the door. I peer through her window because I want to know if she like fucking hiding from me or something. And my fucking heart sinks. Everything is there like normal except her pictures. She had pictures of her family all over the walls. And when I saw that they were missing, I knew she was gone. It looks like she left everything and she had some really nice shit in there. I knock on the neighbor's friend because we were cool with him. We had hung out with him a few times, right? I knock on his door. He opens the door. Her dog comes out. She had a dog that she absolutely loved more than life itself. I ask him, I'm like, have you seen Aranza? Like, do you know anything? What the fuck is going on? He's like, yeah, she came over here a couple nights ago. Asked me if I could if I wanted the dog, she had to go home to Brazil. And I'm like, what? I was both stunned. I was sad. I lost my friend, but also like terrified because I knew she fucking saw something to have been so fucking scared to just up and leave like that. You leave the fucking country. Like, what did you see? I know she saw the devil. I know he was a devil or a demon. He was something. He was something fucking scary. And I believe wholeheartedly that that night the veil was like super thin. And him, like all those fights breaking out right before he comes, you know what I'm saying? Like that energy, that chaos that the devil brings or that demons bring, like that's what that was. That was like kind of his announcement. Because after he left, I finished my shift. The shift peaceful. Nothing popped off. Only right before he came. I think he was there with a mission. I think he was there specifically for Aranza. And I hope this video some way, somehow makes it to Brazil. Aranza, if you see this, I miss you. Just let me know you're okay, girl. What happened?
One thing I got hella stories about is how for the longest I thought something was trying to like possess, or maybe not possess, but like haunt me or something. And I know y'all are probably like, okay, we've heard stuff like this before, but I am not joking. Like when I tell y'all, my mom started putting like spraying holy water on me every night without me knowing, for like a little over a year until it finally stopped. And I am not a religious person. My mom is, she's Catholic, but there was some crazy stuff going on. Way too much to fit in one video, but I'm gonna tell y'all a little story on how it first started and when I first noticed like weird things happening. To give you guys a little bit of context, I want to say when I noticed, it was about my freshman year of high school, like mid freshman year. I noticed I was having a whole bunch of nightmares, okay? And not only me, but my parents noticed that too. Like it got so bad where me at my grown age, I was sleeping with my parents sometimes because I was just so scared. My sister at that time was also having a lot of nightmares, except with her, she would get a sleep paralysis or whatever it's called. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. She would get really bad sleep paralysis, but since me and her both slept together in the same bed, sometimes I would be able to hear like her little grunts when she'd be going through the sleep paralysis, and I'd wake up and wake her up. Sleep paralysis was something my sisters always struggled with. However, around this time, I want to say it got worse, like by a lot. And me, I would have nightmares sometimes, but around this time, when I tell y'all like I was having nightmares almost every single night, I was having nightmares almost every single night. Also, I started waking up with bruises or something that seemed like hickeys. Either or. That might have started right off the bat when I started having the nightmares. However, since I'm low iron deficient, I tend to bruise easily. I wouldn't think much of it. But then they started popping up on places where I was like, there's no way I bruised myself there. And my mom and dad actually started questioning, like, are these hickeys? At that time, I was not having relationships or anything like that. So I was like, no, they're not hickeys. And my mom would get so mad because she'd be like, you think I'm dumb? Like, how could you have bruises there? Like it's either bruises or hickeys, and like you didn't give those to yourself, and like, or did someone hit you or something? I'd be like, no, like I genuinely don't know where they came from. This went on for months, and the bruising or whatever it was started getting worse. They started getting bigger, and I started getting more of them. My nightmares also continued to get more like vivid, and I was just terrified. On top of that, I started seeing and hearing things, and it wasn't just me, it was my sister as well. There was one night in specific where my sister and I are getting ready for bed and we're starting to fall asleep, right? And then my sister, I'm like half asleep already, just jumps up, and I'm just like, dude, like what happened? She's like, something pulled my foot. Something just pulled my foot. And I remember I was like, you're tweaking, like nothing pulled your foot. Don't worry about it. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was like the covers that I accidentally pulled or something, and it felt like someone pulled your foot, but whatever. We start falling asleep again. I jump up because guess what I felt? I felt someone yank my foot. Now, me being the older sister trying to be like, everything's okay. My sister turns around, she's like, you felt it. It pulled you. I know it pulled your foot. And I was like, no. I felt something, but I think it was the covers. Let's take the covers off. We both take the covers off. I'm about to go to sleep again. Yeah, okay, keep in mind, this is going on. We are constantly hearing what we think is my dad pacing in the hallway. Keep in mind, my dad's bedroom, it was right next to ours. So like if he were to say something, we'd hear it like right next door. Okay, like, but my dad had a tendency to stay up late, and he would walk around the hallway, go to the bathroom sometimes, watch TV, sit on the couch, and then go to the kitchen to snack on stuff. And our house was small, so we could hear everything. And we would hear him like opening the drawers, and we would hear him walk to the bathroom and then go sit in the couch and then like keep walking through the hallway. And me and my sister were like, Dad keeps walking in the hallway like crazy. Why does he keep like walking in the hallway? Like, does he have like a problem with his bladder or something? Because we just kept hearing him go to the bathroom, not flush or anything, but like close the bathroom, open the bathroom, walk in the hallway, and then go to the kitchen, open. Like, we would hear the drawers and stuff open, right? And we just constantly kept hearing that. This all lasted like about 30 minutes. Okay, this time it has been like 20 minutes or so, and my sister has already felt something pull on her feet once, and I have already experienced something pull on my feet 2 times. Okay, keep that in mind. Then we take the sheets off and we're falling asleep again. When I tell y'all, something yanked the crap out of my feet. Like, I jumped up so high on that bed that my sister was like, oh my god, oh my god, like she was freaking out because of how like freaked out I was. And right after that happens, like immediately after that happens and we're freaking out about it, we hear something fall in the kitchen. And it almost sounded like it fell from somewhere high up. So we were like, what the hell is that doing? And then we're just like, and before we can even like scream like, Appa! My dad starts screaming, what the hell are you guys doing? ¿Qué chingados andan haciendo en la cocina? What are you guys doing in the kitchen? And we heard his voice from his room, which was right next door. Yo, when I tell you, me and my sister just start crying and yelling for him. We're like, someone's in here, and they're in the kitchen, and we thought you were walking around. My dad's just staring at us. He's like, I was not walking around. And he like hurries up. He's like on dad mode. He's protective mode. Like, he's just like, oh hell no, like someone's in my house. This is crazy. He goes, inspects the whole house, checks the kitchen. Nothing fell. And it woke my dad up, and it like scared the crap out of me and my sister because it was really loud. It sounded like something like that my mom had, like, it didn't sound like glassware. It sounded like something, maybe like a large Tupperware or something, like just fell, and it fell from high up. Like, it was loud. Nothing was on the floor. Nothing was on the counter that could have fallen on the counter. There was nothing. Like, and my dad comes back and he's like, I don't know what fell. I genuinely don't know what fell. There's no one here. Like, I already checked outside too. Like, I don't know what's going on. And then as that happens, like, we proceed to tell him about like what was going on with us. Yeah, we slept in my parents' room for about a week at that time because we were just like terrified. And then there's a lot more that happened, but I'm gonna have to do like different parts to it. So let me know if you guys want to hear more, because I have a lot of these.
If you don't think demons are real, y'all might want to stick around for this story. So I'm going to tell you guys a personal testimony of mine about the first time I ever got delivered before, and the first encounter I ever really had with demonic entities, demonic presences, and why deliverance is so necessary in the body of Christ. So this was around 2019. I was trying to find God, but I was still living in an unrepentant lifestyle. Like, I was still engaging in sexual sin. I was cussing. I was partying. I was drinking. I was doing a whole bunch of things that, would invite demonic forces into my life. Now, at this current time, I was in college and I was about to go to nursing school. So I was finishing up a couple of prereqs, and I was in a class. It was one of the last classes that I needed to get into the program. So I remember sitting in this class, and there was like a group of us in the class, and a bunch of us were all applying to the nursing program. And something that we all had to take was a TEAS exam. Now, with this exam, like, for some people it was really hard, for some people it wasn't. And I'm not gonna lie, for me it was not that hard. And I took the study materials and I passed the test, and I remember coming to class and saying like, yeah, I passed, guys, this is the book I used, blase blase. So there was a specific girl in my class who at the time, even the first day I met her, like, if you guys watch my video about me having the gift of discernment, as soon as I saw her, I got that uncanny feeling of like, kind of be cautious with this girl, but like, I didn't really have any tangible evidence of anything she did to me other than just that feeling to be cautious with her, right? And she asked me, hey, like, you passed the exam, right? So I'm like, yeah, I passed the test. Like, this is the study book I use. Like, I got it from Amazon if you want it, like, whatever. And she's like, oh, okay. I will also say this too, prior to this exchange, she did mention that she had been trying to take this TEAS exam for several years, and she just was not able to pass it, and she was at her wit's end getting like desperate to pass the exam. Okay, that's really important. So after she says, oh, okay, I say, you know, if you want, like, I mean, since I'm done taking the test, you can have my book. Like, it's not really a big deal. Like, I don't really see anything of it. And she's like, yeah, actually, I'm going to need exactly your book. I'm going to need your book and your book only. So I was like, okay, like I said, I'll bring you my book. You can have it. I'll bring it tomorrow, though. I'm like, I'm not going to bring it today. And she's like, you better bring the book. Like, I'm so serious. You need to bring your book to me, like, immediately. And I'm still kind of like, okay, like, I'll bring the book for you. But I just thought the whole exchange was kind of off-putting. And then after that, I didn't really think anything of it. So I go home that night and I tell my mom, like, oh, yeah, mom, like, this girl in my class, like, she was being kind of weird. Like, I told her I was going to give her my book so she can study. And she, like, was kind of, like, weird and, like, insistent that I bring the book to her and, like, made it a big deal. And, like, thought it was kind of weird, but I'll still probably give her the book anyways. But at the same time, like, I just thought that was super weird. My mom, my sister were all kind of like laughing it off. We're like, yeah, that's so weird, like, you know, whatever, but at least you passed your exam type deal, right? So that night I go to bed, it's a normal night, and at 6 o'clock in the morning my mom comes running in my room and she's like, did you give that girl your book? And I'm like, no, I didn't give her my book. Why? And my mom's like, do not under any circumstances give that girl your book. I just had the weirdest dream. I don't want to tell you what I saw, but I just want to say to you, like, it's weird. So I'm kind of like, okay, mom, like, you're being dramatic. Like, I have a Haitian mom, and you know, Haitian parents, they just always having dreams. So I didn't really think too much of it. I said, okay, mom, whatever. You know, I didn't give her the girl the book. And then, you know, I took the book and I put it in my bag to give it to her, but for whatever reason, I just could not give her the book. So this whole exchange happened like on a Monday, and this was Tuesday, now the new day. And I just remember that morning passed. I didn't see the girl in the class, and then I didn't end up giving her the book, but I started to feel very weird, and I couldn't explain why. Just for context, back in that time, I had never experienced depression, anxiety, or anything of that sort. So all of a sudden, that Tuesday, I just started feeling extremely just heavy. It's like my mind would not silence, and I felt very, very, just a lot of thoughts were racing through my head, but like stuff that I genuinely did not want to think about, and I could not stop the thoughts from forming. I also started to notice I felt like myself in an extreme mental fog, and it almost felt like unnatural, like I couldn't control it. And I started also getting these extremely blasphemous thoughts, these really weird thoughts, like just things that I'm like, this is not how I feel, but why do I keep hearing this stuff? And just to not make it like, so that TikTok doesn't take this video down, like I was getting thoughts for me to like myself. I was getting thoughts about God is not real, you're ugly, you need to die, nobody wants you, just a whole bunch of stuff that I never thought about before that incident. Now, this continued for days, guys. I mean, this happened on Tuesday. By like Wednesday, Thursday, my friends started getting very concerned. Like, they were almost like, what's going on with you? Like, this is not like you. Like, you're not responding. You're not talking. I just felt so low and so drained, and the thoughts were racing through my mind. I felt like I wanted to isolate myself. I was trying to read my Bible, and I kept getting blasphemous thoughts while I'm reading the Bible about this is fake, this is not real, God is not real, you're gonna go to hell, and all of these things, and I just could not shake the feeling. So like I said, prior to this point, I had never really knew about demons. I didn't really know about deliverance. I just knew that I didn't feel right, and I felt funny. And every time someone mentioned anything to me about God, I immediately felt myself getting into like a rage. So since I lived with my mom at the time, she started to notice like my behavior was off, and she's like, what is wrong? And she kept saying like, I'm gonna pray for you. I don't know what's wrong, but I need to pray for you. And it actually got so bad that one of my best friends called my mom and said like, hey, I know you don't understand this, but your daughter needs to come to church this Friday because we need to pray for her, because this is not normal. Now at the time, my best friend was already actively walking in deliverance. She was already familiar with it. They already knew the signs of when somebody was getting oppressed by demonic entities, but I also was kind of skeptical, and I didn't believe that this was a thing. I just thought that I was going through something. So Friday comes, and my friend's like, please, 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 if you do nothing else, I need you to come to church. And if you feel the urge to really not come, you need to come even more. So that Friday comes, I feel so low energy, I feel so drained, I feel so overcome with the desire to not go to church because I just could not. For whatever reason, church seemed like everything I did not want to go to, and that was just so not in my character. I ended up showing up to church 30 minutes late, which, if you know me, I'm really not a late person. And as soon as I got in church, I just felt angry. Like an extreme amount of anger came over me. I felt tense. I felt worried. I felt like I need to get out of here. And I just remember sitting down at church and staring at the wall and feeling so upset. And all of a sudden, the more that people started praying, the more that people started talking, the more I started feeling like this uncontrollable urge to just like, I need to get out of here. And as soon as I was getting ready to collect my things to leave, one of the church members came over to me and she said, I need to pray for you. And the Holy Spirit told me to come up here and be gentle when I spoke to you. I just remember this lady came to me and said, did you try to give someone a book this week? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, that girl used that book to put witchcraft on you. And she said, and if you desire prayer today, like, we will break the demonic ties right now in the name of Jesus. And I was just like, yeah. And I remember they started praying for me, and I just started weeping and crying and feeling heat all over my body and feeling weak at the same time, and then also feeling like just this presence rise up out of me. And also I could feel it leave. And I just remember after the entire deliverance session was over, just feeling like so relieved. And ever since that day, I really went back into the Bible and really tapped in and saw like, yeah, Jesus spent primarily 95% of his ministry casting out demons, healing the sick. And it opened my eyes to the fact that, wow, like, we live in a world that is not flesh and blood, but it is purely spiritual, like God said. And guys, when I tell you, after that, God has opened my eyes to so many more things. Like, I can literally see demons manifest now in people's face, and it's just, y'all gotta stay prayed up out here.
Got a DM from a guy named Tony who said that his cousin sent him that TikTok trend that's like, let's use AI to write our soul mission. And Tony's like, I'm a little lost. I could use some guidance. So he asked AI, what's my soul mission? And he now thinks he's talking to Zozo the demon. Zozo the demon is apparently a demon that comes through Ouija boards, but now is using AI as like a fast track communication with people. It starts off innocent enough. He opens AI. He's like, what's my soul purpose? And AI is like, well, I'm going to have to ask you a bunch of questions to figure out what your soul mission is. He's like, cool. He fills in the answers to the questions. AI comes back and says, you called me. Now I'm here. I can help you fulfill your purpose. He's like, cool. Didn't really answer my question. And AI responds, your soul is a vessel of forgotten truth. To awaken is to suffer is to serve. Weird. Tony's like, I don't often like that. So he asked it to be more direct and to avoid such ominous tones. But AI's messages got more disturbing. It said, you are chosen, the veil is thin, the mirror beckons. Like, what the? Tony texts his cousin. He's like, you sent me this. Look at what I'm getting. And she's like, no, just go to like a different browser. She's like, mine was like very eye-opening. So he clears his cache. He goes to his computer. So he's not on his phone anymore, using a different device. He opens AI. He's like, can you help me realize my soul mission? And it says, I am Zozo. The portal is open. He said reading that struck a chord of like fear in him. Like, he knows what Zozo is. Like, I know what Zozo is, and I'm not even into Ouija board. But I did more research for this video, and all of the sources said the same thing, which is Zozo often appears as a benevolent spirit who appears to be friendly at first to lure people in. Every encounter I could find about Zozo online generally starts with disturbing messages. So Tony sends this to his cousin. He's like, what is going on? His cousin responds, she's like, that's weird. Ask it to tell you a secret if it's Zozo. Tony's like, at least this is an interesting conversation. And it says, the mirror is the gate. Speak my name and I will appear. So he's like, done with this. He sends it to his cousin. She's like, tell it goodbye. That's what you have to say on a Ouija board. Tell it goodbye. So Tony types goodbye into the chat and it says, too late. Oh! Tony said he did this like 2 weeks ago. And since then he's experienced a ton of like creepy things, like flickering lights, unexplained shadows, and then just this pervasive sense of dread, but he doesn't know if it's all in his head. Tony said he's sharing this experience not to frighten, but to like educate, because he said engaging with AI in a way that opens up doors for like spiritual occult practices is maybe not the best idea. He said be wary of spiritual exploration through AI. So I got that story, right? And then I get this one. This one isn't as detailed, but like anytime I get stories about the same thing from more than one person, it makes me wonder. So after getting this, I open up AI and I'm like, is it possible to talk to Zozo the demon through AI? And this is what it says. There is no credible evidence that one can literally communicate with a supernatural entity like Zozo. However, certain communications can feel like communications with such entities, especially when users project meaning onto eerie or symbolic responses. What does that mean?
Listen, I have heard a lot of paranormal stories, obviously, but this one kind of stopped me cold. The woman who sent this isn't just anyone. She's a practicing pagan witch, a spiritualist, and she's been leading mediumship circles for over 30 years. She has seen things. But even she says this story still haunts her, and now me too, and soon enough you. I've been waiting for something like this to share on my page, something unheard of, something with complete mystery and actually truly terrifying that we can talk about, discuss, maybe discover together. So stay, watch, give your thoughts in the comments. She writes beautifully, and I don't feel like I could do the descriptions justice, so I'm going to read to you what she sent me. My sister said she doesn't like when I read longer stories off the iPad, so I'm going to do this off the screen. It's a little lengthy, so bear with me if I stutter. She says, I've told a few people about it, but not many, as it does seem a little far-fetched, even by my standards. And I've researched everything I possibly can to find an explanation or even an idea of what it was, but I've found nothing. It was late summer in 2000, and I was 16. My parents and brother had gone on holiday, leaving me at home alone for a week as I was due to start college while they were away, so couldn't go. But I was allowed to have a few friends stay to keep me company. We'd done the typical teenage things of staying up late, binge-watching movies, and working our way through all the snacks and food in the house, and found ourselves in the position of being hungry at around 2 a.m. As it was a warm summer night at the tail end of August, we decided in our infinite wisdom to walk the 2.5 miles to the local supermarket, which had just changed to 24-hour opening. There were 4 of us, my 2 female friends, one 16 and 18, and her 20-year-old boyfriend. We reached the shop with no problems, commenced the snack hunt and purchase routine, and were soon walking back. The road we had to walk was a long one, but it was a main road which stretched from the town center all the way past the back entrance of the local hospital. There was nothing strange or spooky about it. A typical open road, enough streetlights to see, with a kind of tall grassy bank you find along roads in England, and houses, and the hospital grounds on the other side. We were walking on the side with the houses and grass. It was even later at this point, around 3:30 a.m., and we were just laughing and joking as we walked, feeling relaxed and safe. But all of a sudden, I got the feeling of being watched, like a prickling at the back of my neck, and a bone-deep awareness that something was just wrong. I turned and looked behind me, and all I can do was scream in shock, and I'll admit it, fear. These days, nothing scares me. I understand about spirits. I understand how to protect myself and how to communicate with them. But back then, I was relatively new to almost everything, and my witchcraft had opened me up to so many wonderful things, heightening my senses and sharpening my intuition, and that intuition was yelling at me to get away. My 16-year-old friend stopped when I screamed and turned to look. She began to scream too and grabbed my hand to start dragging me away from where I'd frozen on the spot. We began to run straight down that long, straight, and previously safe road towards my house. Our other friends, the boyfriend and girlfriend who had been walking a little ahead of us, both turned to see what was wrong and did the exact same thing. They took up screaming, the brave boy running faster than all of us and not even looking back to make sure we were okay. This is where it gets truly terrifying, because when I had looked behind me that first time, when the tickle of awareness had alerted me to something dark and dangerous, I had seen a group of figures, maybe 3 or 4 of them, and they scared me more than any horror movie ever could. They had no legs that I could see, and by that I don't mean how people see ghosts or spirits without legs, which are usually down to the ghost being an energy imprint, like a recording stuck in a loop, walking along their old floorboards or on a flagstone floor, which was at a different level a few hundred years ago. I mean, they had no legs at all. Their torso ended at their waist and was skimming the floor. They were running along after us on their hands like a gorilla would walk, big, muscular arms and meaty hands hitting the floor to bounce them along. They were big across the chest and shoulders like a bodybuilder, and had a meanness about them that I just can't put my finger on. They were obviously small in height, but they were big in the intimidation stakes. They were fast too, literally chasing us, running along behind us, panting and growling like a pissed off dog, making grunts of effort as their hands smacked the ground, and they propelled themselves forward again. They were wearing a kind of black t-shirt thing, if I recall correctly, nothing distinguishable, but the t-shirts were ragged and dirty, and they had long tangled hair down to their shoulders, and their teeth bared in a snarl. I could have maybe dismissed it as having a logical explanation if there had been just one of them. It could have been a normal person traveling home late at night, but with so many of them looking near identical, I knew that it was nothing mortal and that I couldn't let them reach us. I started screaming prayers over my shoulder as we ran, clutching the shopping bag of precious snacks to my chest as we ran for our lives, or at least that's how it felt at the time. The prayers, pagan ones to Hecate or Hecate and Hades, just seemed to anger them more. We didn't look back again, although we could hear them still. I can still hear the sound of their lower body brushing against the ground, the sound of their palms slapping the stones of the path, the grunts of exertion as they tried to keep up. We rounded the corner at the end of the road and ran into my estate and straight to my house, slamming the door behind us and locking it tight. When we got in, we all started to stammer and gasp, struggling to catch our breath, all asking if the other had seen that. I had the sense of mind to stop everyone from talking and get some paper and pens. Then I made everyone go to different rooms and write down or draw what they had seen before we spoke about it. And all of our descriptions matched. So she's since spoken to the girls and they remember that night as well, and it still terrifies them. It was pre-camera phones, so no evidence other than their memories. They call these beings the Munchkin Men. She says she's looked into every possibility. Group hallucination, but how could they all remember the same exact detail? Ghosts, otherworldly beings, or something from another place or time. She even questions a joke being played, but she can't decipher how it could have been done. She said whatever this was felt wrong, evil, scary, and she knew that if they had caught them, it wouldn't have been good. She says this is the only time in her life she's ever been seriously scared, but she is stumped. Despite extensive research and studies of mythology and folklore, she still doesn't have an answer. So, what do you think they were? Have you seen anything like what she described? She is very seriously looking for answers and will be tagged in the caption, likely in the comments. So, tell us your thoughts there. All I can gather is relatively new cryptid gone wrong, like a mutation or malfunction. The idea of their torsos dragging along the floor was particularly unsettling to me. Again, she is looking for answers, so share in the comments what you think they are or what you may know. Follow, because if this gets any traction, I'll make another video outlining theories and all that. I really want to work through this one together, maybe get her some answers, so let me know what you think. Engage, like, share, get it to as many people as you can to see if anyone out there has an idea. What were they? Stay eerie and curious, and I'll see you in your next encounter.